Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Invested American podcast. As you can see, my dad laughing there. I'm taking the lead this show. We're glad to have you guys. Episode 16. Dad, how are you doing today?
You know what, Alexander? I'm doing great today, and I love the fact that you're taking over. Let's go. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
So we're
We got the
using.
show today.
Yep. So we're using StreamYard. We use this for all of our different podcast platforms for virtual. Dad isn't very familiar with it. I've been using it for a little bit now, so we're just kind of getting in the transition of things. But this week we have a very, very special guest. One of my dear friends. We've grown, the past almost year now. We've known each other. This guy, I love him. My dad loves him. We love this guy. But without further ado, we'll bring our guy in, Mr. Collin Bingham. How are we doing, man?
How's it going, you guys?
Collin, you doing all right?
I'm doing awesome, man.
Great.
It's another
Let's
day of
go.
open enrollment.
There we go.
Another beautiful day.
There we go.
Yes, sir.
Well, Collin, we're glad to have you on the show. Just real quick, I just wanted to also just thank everybody that is tuned in, and please subscribe, like, and share our content with others. As Alexander and I and a host of others here at TIA with my wife and my daughter Theory, just do a lot of great things to expand our product, expand our brand, and have incredible studs like Collin on the show. So
One of the best brands out there. The
There we
Invested
go.
American, man.
I love
You're
it.
a
I
beast,
love it.
bro.
I love it.
Yeah, Colin, but with for the audience that doesn't really know you, just tell us a little bit about yourself, an intro about you. What was, you getting into the insurance industry? What does that all look like as well? So go ahead, man.
Yeah, so Collin Bingham, I am located in Idaho Falls, Idaho. I am the youngest of 5 boys, so very competitive household growing up. Loved
Okay.
playing sports, 2-time state champion in football, but grew up on a farm. So I grew up working hard. We had about 1,500 acres and had about 2,000 head of cows. So it was a 7-day week job, and just learned how to work hard. And from my parents, I got into my dad passed away when I was 17. And after that, my mom ended up renting out the farm. So I had to find something else to do besides farming. And so I got into door-to-door sales, selling pest control. And that is the quickest way to learn sales and negotiation and mental fortitude.
Sure.
It's just cold knocking doors. I did that for about 4 years. Was one of the top reps as a rookie. Did really well that way, but just some things happened, and I knew I didn't want to move my family out every year to a different city.
Right.
And so I knew a couple insurance agents, and I knew they made good money, and so I got licensed.
That's great.
Answered an ad on LinkedIn, and that's how I got started.
Wow.
So I was an LOA for 2 years and built a Medicare book of over 1,000 clients
Nice.
in 2 years. Love Medicare. And then just at the beginning of this year, left the LOA model, started my own agency with my brother and best friend, and have just been loving it.
Yeah.
So,
Man, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Man, I got to tell you, as you were just sharing your story and just relating with you, on a human level, losing your father at 17, kind of a big deal, right?
yeah.
What do you think, Collin, in your opinion, what shift do you think happened in your life when your father passed? Like, what do you think was one of the major things that happened when he passed, like to your psyche,
Yeah. The main thing was my relationship with God. That was the first thing that changed. I mean, I was 16 when he was diagnosed.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty crucial part of life, I feel like, is,
I bet.
I was a junior in high school. And I was just mowing the lawn, and my dad came out, called me in and said, hey, I have cancer. And, immediately your head goes to the worst. Oh, he's going to die.
Of course. Yeah.
All this stuff is going on. And so I had to develop a strong relationship with God. But the other thing, I was the only one. I'm the youngest of 5 boys. The rest of my brothers had moved out and gotten married or just weren't home. So I had to become the man of the house.
Okay.
And so it was, yeah, one of those things where I had to become a man at a young age.
Sure.
Yeah. Collin,
Sorry about that background noise as well.
No,
So if
you're all good, man. I mean, a lot of agents, Collin, that talk about your dad and stuff. Like a lot of agents are going that have adversity. A lot of them have to go through adversity. What's like a little piece that you could give them? You feel like that's like, hey, my dad passed when I was 16, 17, and I got through it. Right? What's something that you can leave with them, saying, hey, you're going to get on the other side of this, and how do they continue to push to keep working? Like if, for example, my dad's working and one of my sisters passed away, something crazy like that happens, right? God forbid that ever happen. But like, what's something that you can give an agent for them just to keep pushing forward in those moments?
One of the things, like I said, I don't want to get too spiritual, but I'm okay doing that. Is first lean on God, lean on Jesus Christ. That's what I did, at least, to help me get through. And yeah, exactly. Yep. He needs to be the forefront of everything you do. At least he is for me. So that's what helped me get through it. But the other thing is just realize that, life happens to us. And so sometimes we have to make a decision to just keep pushing forward. It's not easy all the time. I mean, I was driving this morning on the way to some of my appointments, and it was early and the sun was coming up, and I couldn't help but think of my dad. And so it's just one of those things where, do something that will make them proud if you lose somebody that's close to them, and live for a purpose on purpose. And so find a deeper why to make it so that you can make it through those hard times. Okay.
Dad, we can't hear you, by the way.
You're muted.
That's because I was muted. Now look at the I'm coming across. I was just trying to see if you guys were paying attention and listening. Okay. You had mentioned you have 2 children. Is that right?
Yep, I do.
Okay. So you're married. You have a couple children. And I can appreciate the spirituality. I'm a faithful guy. My son and I, God is present in our home and everything we do all the time. So I believe it's part of our duty to be that way. So I can appreciate that, and then obviously being married and having children, you got a lot of purpose there, a lot of things that keep you motivated, I was going to ask, one of the things Alexander mentioned to me about you, even like probably the second or third day into the contest, he had mentioned that you guys just that your energy was on tilt. You had a winner's fight type attitude. You could be helpful but competitive at the same time.
Yes,
I love that. What do you attribute to all that? What is your why? God, family. I got to. What else moves you, man? What are you trying to really achieve besides make more money?
Yeah. I mean, money's awesome, right? Money, you can do good things with money, but that's never, I have a vision board. And I don't even have an amount of money that I want to make.
Sure.
I want to serve, right?
Love it.
My main thing. So the name of my company is Your Legacy Insurance.
Okay.
My main thing is to carry on my father's legacy of hard work and dedication. But it's also, I want to leave a legacy for my kids and future generations. And so my why is just to leave an imprint, whatever that looks like. And so it's every day I got to push for something, right?
Yeah. What's cool about that, Collin, is Alexander's reference to you that we've been doing some retirement seminars and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And something that I say when we're in the seminars is like, who here knows their great grandfather? Well, not a lot of people ever knew their great grandfather.
Exactly.
And then I ask, who knew of their great grandfather? And then you'll get a hand or two that raises, and I say, okay. So I assume that your great grandfather had some money, because usually the only time you ever hear about the great grandfather is if there was some money or some legacy money left behind or some opportunity left behind that generation started to, be able to seize and enjoy in that opportunity if they continue to grow it. because if you don't, you sabotage it,
Yep.
So I love it. Yeah, man, me too. I got to tell you, being married, having 4 kids, they're all adults now, no disrespect to any of them. But yeah, I just got to tell you, man, purpose, the motivation, and having all that. I just love it. I love what you were saying.
Well, and I've got to give, I was actually thinking about after Alex called me, I think about you guys often. But after I talked to Alex on the phone, I was just thinking, I was driving to an appointment. I was thinking, honestly, how neat it is, Ollie, honestly, your relationship with Alexander. Yeah. And I was thinking about that, and because I have 2 boys of my own. So I have Maverick, who just turned 3 yesterday. Happy birthday, Maverick. And then Bowen, who will be 1 in January. And I was like, man, what can I do like Ollie that would make dead serious. I was in the car thinking this. I was like, that would make my boys want to work with me, like Alexander.
You said that on Friday Fuel one time too, Collin. You remember that, Dad? You remember that, Collin?
Yeah.
And so I honestly think about your relationship and your example to Alexander, and it's just like, man, how can I be a lot like Ollie? And that, I have a 16-year-old son that wants to be in the office with me making phone calls, but who's also not riding on the coattails of Dad, right?
No, if he's working,
Because with how successful you are, there's a lot of father-sons where the father's successful and the son is not driven or doesn't want to do anything. Sure. And so that just goes to show how good you and your wife do it at raising your kids. That
I appreciate that.
Alexander and the rest of your daughters are just phenomenal. So.
Oh, buddy, I appreciate it. Well, you know what? It's a God thing. I thank God every day for my wife, for all 4 of our kids. It's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I appreciate the kind words, the sincerity. I'm going to believe it. And you know what? I will tell you, I think there's a couple things, though. I'm going to throw this out, okay? One of the things I think with Alexander that was attractive to him, okay, is that I was dressed up every day. I just want to say, I want to be clear. Wearing a tie and a sport coat doesn't sound like, man, it's something I want to do every day. But you know what's funny about it? Everybody treats you different when you dress that way. Everybody does. So what happens is when you go to the store with your kids and they see people just treat you different, then you start looking at your dad and go, man, my dad always dresses like that and everyone else's dad doesn't. What's that about? There's something different about it. So I want it's part of the Superman costume. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, so I want to tell you that I think they knew that Alexander knew that his dad, this is how he dressed, so much so that on Alexander's career day, he showed some of those photos to y'all, I think.
Yeah.
What's he dressed up? He's dressed up not all the kids were dressed up in ties, but Alexander was. Why? Because in Alexander's mind, the insurance man in town was dressed up. And I'm going to be like my dad, and I'm going to be dressed up, and I'm going to be successful.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get it for you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. You showed me that picture.
Look at that. Hold on, I got to zoom up. You guys won't be able to see it, but right on that badge it says insurance agent.
Yeah, I love it, Dad. I love it.
Ask me about Medicare.
Right. So I think there was that, and then, also Alexander, the people that we were closest with as he was growing up, a lot of people in the industry. So he saw, if it was like guys that were like brothers to me, my business partners, and that kind of stuff. He just saw the evolution of it. And I think as he continued to grow up, he just continued to say, yeah, you know what? My dad does pretty good. This guy I know does pretty good. This guy I know does pretty good. My dad will teach me how I need to do this or that. My mom's over here to help me. Why not? So, but I tell people that all the time because Alexander invests a lot in himself. My 3 incredible daughters all go to college and I help them with their college. Alexander really funds himself for his college. He's going to this other event here in a couple weeks with Mr. Nate Alford. That's Alex. That's Alexander. That's him doing the deal. So, but I think, buddy, I know it sounds silly. And I know the whole thing now is I don't wear a tie. I wear polos or I wear a button shirt and maybe a couple buttons down. It's okay. We don't need to see your peach fuzz. You know what I'm saying? Instead, I'll tell you this, even your clients will treat you different if you're dressed with a tie than if you're not.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about some level of respect that naturally happens.
That's
You know?
Yeah.
that's
I actually, that was one of the first things I told my wife when I got home. I was like, man, I need to get me a couple suits and I need to start dressing nicer. Here I am wearing a polo. But for literally
each their
for the,
own, buddy. Look,
for,
you're dominating the game. My understanding is you're dominating the game. We've talked. My son's told me a bunch.
yeah.
So let's be clear.
Well, I actually, me and my wife talk, and, you know, depending on how this open enrollment goes, which it's been going pretty well, I'm going to be getting me a couple suits and stuff
There you go.
come January.
There you go.
But
There
that
you
was
go.
one of the first things I told Kaylee after the ultimate agent. I was like, Ollie and Alexander, they dress nice. Like, I need to start. And literally the week after Ultimate Agent, I wore a
Sure.
tie and white shirt and like dress coat and all that stuff for the whole next week.
Yeah,
And yeah, I did feel better, honestly.
yeah. You know, Alex, why don't you share with them? You know, that was kind of funny. But tell me what you really felt, Alexander, was your vibe. So Alexander and Jeff were running in a Jeff Milburn, for those that don't know, is another guy in TIA. We just love
Another
him.
killer.
He's a beast. But definitely our top guy. But you guys had an appointment on Sunday. And I remember, so Alex and I were at home, and Alex was like, Dad, you know, it's Sunday, you know, we're not wearing a tie today, right? And I said, because I knew the client was coming, and it was someone that I had known as well. We had met them at a seminar that we had all done. And I said, well, I'm going to go say hello. And I was getting dressed up. So Alex, he didn't say anything. He's like, all right, I know, I'll get dressed up. Well, we get over here. When the client comes, him and his wife, they come in here. They're sitting in our office. And he made some comment, right? Like, you guys are all tied up, you know? I said, yeah, man, it's Sunday, you know? But yeah, he goes, yeah, but I figured because it was Sunday, you wouldn't need to do that, you know? I was like, no. Even it's game day. And we had the TV on, we had football on. I said, look, it's game day. We got to be dressed up, ready to go. Yeah, you didn't have to. But what do you think? How do you think he really felt about that and watching you and Jeff work on a Sunday with him for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, you know? But
it's funny because when I first started in the industry, and I wasn't the big suit and tie guy, I didn't really want to do it. But you said, hey, Alex, you're going to do it because people are going to look at you differently, right? And I went out for my first month, really about half of the clients were saying, you know, you look like, why are you coming to my house looking like this? You know, like, you look good. And I'm like, well, thank you. Right. It's like I don't even know how to act at all. Like, I'm getting a compliment, you know, with the way I'm looking. And I'm just like, thank you, you know, and it's really true about what you're saying, Dad, is like, you know, if you're dressing a certain way, a client will look at you differently for sure. Right.
Yeah.
And with the guy that on Sunday, I mean, yeah, I'm dressing. It's not even a question if I'm dressed in a suit and tie in front of a client anymore, because the client already sees like, this guy actually, he dressed up enough to be in front of me, you know. It raises your standard. Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that really, you know, stood out to me too, is as I've been doing the business, is like, when you put on a suit and tie, I mean, people definitely look at you a little bit differently, you know. I kind of wanted to, is that to answer your question though?
Yeah,
is that
great.
good?
That's great.
Okay.
That's good.
I wanted to
gives you that extra credibility to write those $510,000 annuities. Hey?
Yeah, he'll write good business, man. He'll write good business, I assure you.
But
sorry to cut you off, Alex.
No, you're good. So, Collin, the one thing that really stood out, and my dad remembers this, when me and you were both on the Ultimate Agent, I told my dad about this. Me and you were talking about when it comes to money, what we do with money. And the one thing that really stood out to me, and that I haven't heard from any other individual as a friend in the business, is that he gives 10% of every single dollar he makes to you know, church or to a donation. That's one thing that really stood out to me about you, Collin, is that he's actually setting money aside, because my dad put it on me. Hey, and we still do it every single month. We'll go over the income that I got. We'll say, hey, if I made 10 grand this month, we're putting 1,000 to a donation or church.
Yep.
And then we're sending the next half in the savings, and then you get to have the other half. Right. So that's something big too, is like, Collin, like, it shows I have a lot of respect for you, because a lot of people aren't doing it and actually setting aside money for a donation. Like,
that's right.
I
agree.
I think it really, yeah. And I mean, a question I had for you is to kind of dive into it. How, and a lot of people are wondering, I mean, you said you have 1,000 clients, to try to change gears into your actual business. How did you manage to get, 1,000 clients in 2 years? I think that's just freaking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it was it was a lot of work, but it was honestly fun. So what a lot of people don't realize or don't do is I see myself as an educator, especially when it comes to Medicare and Medicaid.
I know.
If you can come across as intelligent and you know your stuff, but you can also get the client to understand.
Yep.
I would say I have probably a 98%, if not higher, close ratio when it comes to Medicare. Like if I'm sitting down with somebody or if I get somebody on the phone, they're my client. And so I educate on Medicare and Medicaid, because a lot of people think like, well, shoot, how did I didn't have 500 app in, AEPs.
Right.
A lot of that came during the year because I was doing educational seminars like what you guys do, but I do educational seminars to Medicare and Medicaid individuals.
Sure.
And so I go to low income housing.
Yeah.
I go to nursing homes. So then that way, I'm still getting 30, 40, 50, my best outside of open enrollment month. I did 76 apps
Nice.
outside of open enrollment in a month, MAPDs.
Nice.
And so if you can do that throughout the year, not only, you're not so nervous about having a big open enrollment. Of course, you want to throw on 150, 250, 300 apps in open enrollment. But if you can supplement that during the year, you can grow a pretty big business that way.
Sure. So, and the way that you did it though, I mean, so you're not really running in-house appointments when you sell your Medicare. Are you doing most of your stuff over the phone?
I do a lot of, I do a lot of both. So I also have developed a really good relationship with a carrier here, where they don't have in-house sales people.
Okay.
And so I'm actually at their office right now. I was just doing kind of a lunch and learn with some of their employees, telling them about what I do so that I can get referrals from them. And so Alexander's the referral king too. But I work on getting a lot of zero cost per acquisition business.
Yeah.
So developing relationships. So I get a lot of leads from them. And so I do a lot of over the phone, but I also do a lot of in-home as well. Or in person. Like today I'll get, I think 8 MAPDs. All of them will be in person. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll be working a little bit today.
Yeah. But I wanted to squeeze some time in with you guys.
Well, buddy, we do appreciate it. Alexander, were you going to touch on anything else here?
Yeah.
Brother?
So, Collin, another question I had. I mean, you kind of explained how you managed to get those, get the 1,000 clients, which is just freaking crazy. But are you doing? I believe you're still doing live, right? You're still doing. Okay.
Yeah. So how do you do that, Collin? So if you're really working Medicare Advantage leads, I'm assuming we're getting scopes signed, either digitally signed scopes, or you're getting scopes signed when you go see them. Yep. So you're doing that. So when you talk about Advantage plans, you talk about Advantage plans. So tell me your business strategy throughout the years, going from being a Medicare client and how you converted them to also a traditional client, and what are some of your hot features in doing so? Hot product doing so.
Yeah. So last year, actually, it was last July, I had never sold a final expense plan before.
Okay.
And so I went out and I actually went and wrote $12,000 of business, 12,000 AP in a week, just from calling my current book. And so I call, I check in, I say, okay, how's the plan that we chose working out for you? Are you using your over-the-counter benefit? Are you having any network problems? So first I called to serve. And then second, I called to sell. And so I asked them, I talked to them about, do you have any funeral plans set up? Do you, what were to happen if you were to pass away? I really called husband and wives, because a lot of them don't know. So I called to educate as well. A lot of them don't know that when one spouse passes away, they lose that Social Security. And so they're losing a lot of their income, or they take over the Social Security of the spouse's income that was greater. So I went and I really sold it as a Social Security income protection. So it's like, hey, let's see how many months we can protect your income for. After
are you doing the P Fournier? Are you doing the
I
P
did,
Fournier?
yeah.
That's Collin.
I love it, dude. Like, I
That's
love it,
funny.
bro.
That's funny you say that because I'm selling that today as well. I'm selling a
Yes.
bunch of
Yeah.
Social Security income
Listen.
protection.
Yeah,
It's a real thing, though. It's a real
No, it is
thing.
a real
100%.
thing. I guess I want to say what the real thing is that you are looking at situations in someone's retirement where something might change.
Yes.
And if you're talking to somebody that doesn't have investments, that doesn't have retirement planning truly set aside, and they're past it now, it's not like they're going to be able to do it now, right?
Yep.
Having a final expense plan could help aid and assist in some monies, at least for the first year, to cover the Social Security check that you will no longer be receiving.
Exactly.
And then people's misconception a lot of times, right? Collin, they'll say, yeah, but you know what? I'm going to get his when he dies, but you're still going to lose yours.
Yep.
That's what we're forgetting here. Just because his might be higher in this scenario doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
So that's what they're. So final expense, mortgage protection, right?
Yep.
Burial costs, a burial plan. All of those are reasons for final expenses. Final is not just the funeral process,
Yep. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, really, you're just educating. And so if there's, if the main people watching this, if you have a book of business and you only have one policy per person, you need to be calling your book of business, checking in on them on whatever policy you've already sold them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same if you have a big final expense book of business. If you haven't called all of them right now to try to get them a Medicare plan or become their agent for Medicare, they already trust you. It's going to be the easiest sell that you can get.
100.
Once that first week I had 100% close ratio on final expense. So I was just like, this is it. Right. And so it was actually then that I made the decision, like, hey, I started kind of planning my way out because I was like, I can do this. So it's what made me leave the LOA plan. So,
Okay. It got you really excited. I love it. I love it, dude. I love it.
Well, Collin, dude, I got to say, first off, I want you guys to pay attention to something. So me and him were on the Ultimate Agent together, right? This dude, Collin, never sold a snippet of final expense, and this guy killed it. Okay.
Yeah, I'd never sold a policy over the phone or a lead. I'd only sold clients. So
this is freaking crazy. I mean, we don't know when the show's coming out. I mean, they keep pushing it back, which is okay. But I'm thinking the end of this month.
Good things come to those that wait, Alex. Good things come to those that wait.
But you guys pay attention to Collin. This is something for every starting agent. I would have to say, if you're just coming in the business, watching Collin in this show, it's he just freaking killed it. I think all the agents killed it. But for Collin, the thing that stood out to him instead of everybody else is that he never sold any final expense at all. Right. That's something that's really crazy though too, But Collin, man, I mean, we loved having you on, bro. We appreciate you. Any final thoughts, Dad, or
I was just gonna ask Collin one more question before you wrap up.
Yeah, let's go.
Collin, I appreciate you being on the show. There's all kind of podcasts. Everyone's got a podcast, and everyone's, thinks their podcast or their topic is the best, this, that, or the other. In all sincerity, if if there was going to be a takeaway that you would want everyone to take out of our podcast today, from what you believe that you bring and that you offer, what would that be? What would be, your final take? Just, for someone that's our audience, they're in the insurance business. Some might be new, some might be veterans. And I'm not just trying to be motivational rah-rah, but what's a takeaway? What are here are some key things that I want to leave you guys with, final seeds. What would that look like?
No, I appreciate that. First off, I want to thank you guys for thinking about me and having me on. I love you both, love your family. But the main thing, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Keep the main thing, put God first. All things will work out for your good, even if it doesn't look that way. But I think what stems from that is belief in good things to come. Insurance is one of those things to where sometimes it can be a slow build. Sometimes business isn't always coming in, or you get chargebacks or whatever it is. But which those aren't fun, right? But if you can keep the belief that this is the industry and you align yourself with a mentor like Ollie and Alexander, myself, or whoever in the business, find somebody who has the same values as you. If you can find somebody who's doing what you want to do and you're willing to put in the work, it's as simple as that. It's not a complicated business, right? It's simple. And so if you can find yourself a mentor, and you're willing to put in the work and you believe in good things to come, you're going to make a lot of money in this business.
That's great.
That's
great.
so good. Yeah.
Collin, and how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to reach you, to talk to you, to see a website, whatever, promote yourself for a second. Go commercial on us.
Yeah. Social media, Collin T Bingham, Collint, and then Bingham, how it is on here. And then also, feel free to reach out. My number, 208-479-5096. More than happy to answer questions and point you in the right direction. So
let's go. Well, Collin, bro, we appreciate you having, coming on. Dude, we love you, bro. You're a freaking beast. Keep killing it.
Guys.
If you guys please could like, share, subscribe, comment, all of the above. We love, all the support from you guys. We certainly do love all you guys. But yeah, anything else? I think we're all good here, guys. Anything else good? Cool.
Collin,
all right, guys.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate you calling, man. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep. We'll see you.